Hey everyone, welcome back. On behalf of Dr. Parshwanath at DigitalDNAN.com, I am absolutely thrilled to guide you through another high-yield explainer. Okay, let's dive into this. Today, we're hitting a 10-question sprint, specifically questions 11 through 20 of our UGC NET English Masterclass. Now, I want to challenge you right now. Don't just passively listen to me. Test your active recall. Really try to lock in your answers before I reveal them. Ready? Let's get started. All right, here's our highly organized roadmap for today. We're going to systematically break down global and African literature, transition into drama and stage movements, tackle novels and prose fiction, identify the university wits, and finally, lock it all in with our ultimate revision block. It's focused, it's fast-paced, and it's exactly what you need to dominate these competitive exams.
Section 1. Global and African Literature. We're looking at voices against oppression and colonial narratives.
Okay, first question up. Who is a white woman writer but is sympathetic to the cause of the blacks? Is it Muriel Spark, Nadine Gordimer, Jean Rhys, or Margaret Drabble? Take a second to lock in your answer. Got it? The correct answer is B, Nadine Gordimer. Now what's really interesting here is understanding why the others are distractors. Muriel Spark focused largely on religion and psychology. Jean Rhys, of course, is famous for the post-colonial text Wide Sargasso Sea, and Margaret Drabble is known for British social fiction. Gordimer, however, was a South African novelist who fiercely opposed apartheid through works like Burger's Daughter and July's People. I mean, she even won the Nobel Prize in 1991. So here's your memory trick to keep this straight. Gordimer equals against apartheid.
You know, matching questions like this are incredibly common on the exam. Let's match these iconic African literature authors to their famous titles. Alan Paton wrote Cry the Beloved Country. Ngugi wa Thiong'o penned A Grain of Wheat. Teju Cole is the author of Open City, and Wole Soyinka gave us The Interpreters. To survive the NET exam, you literally need these pairings hardwired into your brain. Use this rhythmic trick. Paton Cry, Ngugi Grain, Cole City, Soyinka Interpreters. Say it out loud a few times and it'll stick for sure.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 2, Drama and Stage Movements. We're going from Shakespearean soliloquies all the way to kitchen sink realism.
So what exactly is the proper explanation of Freytag's pyramid? Is it plot analysis, character analysis, conflict analysis, or drama classification? Well, if you've studied any dramatic theory, you know it's definitely not about character arcs or broad categorical drama classification like, comedy versus tragedy. The correct answer is A, analysis of the plot of a drama.
This model for dramatic structure maps out the plot precisely how Gustav Freytag proposed way back in the 19th century. It starts with exposition, builds with rising action, hits the climax, descends through falling action, and ends in catastrophe or resolution. This right here is a massive favorite for net theory questions. Your mnemonic for this is super simple. ERCFR. Exposition, rising action, climax, falling action, resolution.
All right, now for arguably the most famous soliloquy in English drama. Which oppositions are best evoked by Hamlet's to be or not to be? The options are life versus death, action versus emotion, affirmation versus confirmation, and doing versus abstaining. The correct pairings are actually A and D. Hamlet is deeply contemplating existence versus non-existence, so that's life versus death, and action versus inaction, which is doing versus abstaining. Emotion and confirmation just aren't the principal issues at play here. The memory trick is beautifully literal. To be equals life, not to be equals death.
Let's fast forward to the 20th century with Harold Pinter's The Birthday Party. What game do the characters play in Act 2? Is it chess, cards, blind man's buff, or musical chairs? The correct answer is C, blind man's buff. Think about it. Chess or cards imply logic and strategy, and musical chairs leans towards a straightforward children's game. But blind man's buff? That becomes intensely, psychologically disturbing on stage. It brilliantly symbolizes the sheer confusion, helplessness, and manipulation inherent in Pinter's worlds.
And that leads us perfectly to this definition. The Birthday Party is a classic example of the comedy of menace. This is a theatrical genre where seemingly innocent everyday situations, like a simple parlor game of blind man's buff, twist into something deeply psychologically disturbing. It symbolizes a very real, very visceral blind fear. So absolutely anchor this in your mind with this trick. Blind man's buff equals blind fear in Pinter.
Okay, here's another highly specific stage movement question. Which two Arnold Wesker plays begin with a character doing dishes in a kitchen sink? Are we talking The Kitchen, Chicken Soup with Barley, Roots, or Menace?
Now don't be fooled by option A, the kitchen. I know, it sounds like a trap, right? While it is an earlier Wesker play, it doesn't actually feature this specific opening motif, and menace relates back to Pinter, not Wesker. The correct answers are B and C, chicken soup with barley and roots. Both of these plays open with raw domestic realism centered around kitchen activity, which powerfully symbolizes working class life. This is the absolute hallmark of the kitchen sink drama movement. Your cheat code here, barley plus roots equals kitchen sink roots.
Let's rewind a bit to the Restoration period. What are the major themes in William Congreve's The Way of the World? Are they jealousy and revenge, love and intrigue and death, or love and loyalty? This play is widely considered the absolute finest of Restoration comedies. Because it revolves so heavily around courtship, deception, financial inheritance, and marriage negotiations, the correct answer is B, love and intrigue. Jealousy and revenge fit much better in Renaissance tragedies. Death is pretty insignificant here, and straightforward loyalty just isn't the central concern driving this incredibly complex plot. Just remember, Congreve equals love plus intrigue.
Section 3. Novels and Prose Fiction. Exploring Gothic terror and picaresque rogues. Which of the following is not indebted to the Gothic genre? We've got William Beckford's Vathek, Matthew Lewis's The Monk, Tobias Smollett's Roderick Random, and Anne Radcliffe's The Italian. The odd one out here is C, Roderick Random. Why? Well, because Vathek, The Monk, and The Italian are all classic Gothic masterpieces. They're filled with mystery, terror, and spooky supernatural settings. Roderick Random, on the other hand, is a picaresque novel about a roguish hero on a sprawling journey. Your memory trick to tell them apart is this: random equals road adventure, not Gothic horror.
Sticking with the picaresque for a second, Thomas Nash's The Unfortunate Traveler is narrated by who? Is it Jack Wilton, Philip Fox, Ben Light, or Peter Marston? The correct answer is A, Jack Wilton. The other names are just fictional distractors formulated to trick you, but Jack Wilton is an incredibly important actual Renaissance rogue figure. This novel is considered one of the earliest English picaresque works, so cement this connection right now. Jack Wilton equals the traveler's voice.
Section 4. The University Wits. Educated dramatists dominating pre-Shakespearean drama.
So, which group of writers is labeled as the University Wits? Does the group include Marlowe, Greene, and Nash? Or does it mix in writers like Thomas Lodge, Arthur Wilson, and Walter Raleigh? The correct collective label belongs to Christopher Marlowe, Robert Greene, and Thomas Nash. If you see mixed groupings in your multiple choice options incorporating writers like Walter Raleigh, Ben Jonson, or Francis Beaumont, eliminate them immediately. They simply were not part of this highly specific Oxford and Cambridge educated collective.
You're definitely going to want to remember this list for test day. These are the core university wits you absolutely must know. Christopher Marlowe, who is for sure the most celebrated of the bunch, Robert Greene, Thomas Nash, John Lyly, Thomas Lodge, and George Peele. When in doubt on the exam, rely on this trick. Marlowe plus Greene plus Nash equals the core wits. If a multiple choice option doesn't have them, it's highly likely to be a trap.
Section 5, the ultimate revision block. Let's consolidate all this knowledge. So the crucial point is making sure these concepts stick.
Let's quickly review the top authors, important literary works, and movements from this batch. We have Nadine Gordimer, who wrote Burger's Daughter, representing the anti-apartheid movement. We have Arnold Wesker, whose play Roots perfectly exemplifies kitchen sink realism. And we have Harold Pinter, whose Birthday Party defines the comedy of menace. Visually mapping out these connections is exactly how you build an exam-proof memory.
All right, rapid fire time. Let's fire off the 10 memory tricks we'll learn today. Think of these as your ultimate insider cheat codes. Gordimer equals against apartheid. Random equals road adventure. ERCFR for Freytag's pyramid. To be equals life. Blind buff equals blind fear. Barley plus roots equals kitchen sink roots. Jack equals traveler. Peyton Cry and Giga Grain. Congreve equals love plus intrigue. And finally, Marlowe, Greene, and Nash equal to core wits.
Now here's a thought to chew on. How will mastering these narrative frameworks and deploying these specific memory tricks transform your accuracy when you face your next batch of 50 questions? Active recall isn't just about reading, right? It's about building mental shortcuts that fire instantly under pressure.
If you want to totally accelerate your exam prep and truly master this material, you are absolutely in the right place. Subscribe to Dr. Parshwanath at DigitalDNAN.com for more intensive masterclasses just like this one. Keep reviewing, keep testing yourself, and we'll see you in the next explainer.
Welcome to the world of professional video mixing.